Here's the uncomfortable thing about delegating work to an AI agent. The agent doesn't know which part of the task is a normal Tuesday, and which part is please, 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 please do not accidentally send this to a client. It just sees the assignment. It will make the deck, it will clean the inbox, it will build the model, screen the KYC file, close the books, very casual, just letting software walk around with a clipboard and a tiny blazer. And if that sounds useful, it is, most of the time. It sounds terrifying. Well, welcome. Pull up a seat. Because the new question is not, can the agent do the task? The better question is, who checks the handoff? Who checks the source? Wait, is that the actual source? Who checks the assumptions? You mean the numbers are generated? Who checks the permissions? Who checks the final artifact? And who says, this is ready to leave the room? Or better yet, no, it's not ready. That is the delegation quality problem. Not access, not just trust, quality. The part where useful work becomes risky because it looks finished. This week, the signals are loud, very loud. Microsoft is pushing Copilot Cowork further from conversation into action. Agent 365 is becoming the control plane story for agents. And Anthropic is packaging financial services agents for work like pitch books, KYC screening, valuation review, and mouth and close. And Anthropic is packaging financial services agents for work like pitch books, KYC screening, valuation review, and month-end close. That's not 3 vendor announcements. That is one operating question wearing 3 different jackets. When agents do the work, who certifies the work? Quick disclosure before we get any more into this. AI assisted tools were used in parts of the research and production workflow. Final editorial judgment, risk posture, and release approval stayed human-led. Yes, because if I'm going to educate folks on this, we don't need additional crud out there. That is operational guidance, not legal advice. These are my opinions and are not representative of any organization.
This is AI Change Desk. Thank you for choosing to tune in.
I'm source checking this on May 5th, 2026. Yes, the revenge of the 5th. Now sit down. The timing matters. And some of this news landed today, some of it a few days old. And all of it points in the same direction. Agents are not just answering questions anymore. They're being handed work. Welcome back to AI Change Desk. I'm Michael. Today is the Wednesday episode for May 6, 2026. And this is episode 24, Delegation Quality Check. The question today is simple. When AI does the assignment, who owns the review? This connects directly to episode 22 and episode 23. Episode 22 was the access lifestyles check. The question there was, when the doors move, who updates the map? Episode 23 was a trust boundary check. The question there was, when AI becomes infrastructure, who owns that boundary? Today is that next layer, because you can have the right door and the right boundary and still have a bad handoff. You can improve a tool, secure the account, log the agent, and still ship a deck with the wrong assumptions sitting quietly on slide 7. Go check your slide 7. Slide 7 is where mistakes go to start a family. That is why delegation quality matters. It is not the glamorous part of AI adoption. Nobody's putting a giant banner on a keynote slide that says, woohoo, we have a pretty good review checklist. But that's the difference between acceleration and a huge mess that you can just throw in that one closet in your house. And yes, I too have that closet. Useful is not the same as ready. Fast is not the same as approved. And generated is definitely not the same as governed. First signal, Microsoft is making delegation feel more normal. On May 5th, Microsoft published a Copilot Cowork update. The frame is very clear. Cowork is about moving beyond chat into execution. Microsoft says people are using it to orchestrate inbox workflows, conduct deep research, generate structured documents, and build full web pages. It is built on Work IQ, which Microsoft describes as the intelligence layers that understands your data, your tools, and your organization. Then the update gets practical. Cowork is coming to iOS and Android through the Frontier program. So delegation is not just something you do at the desk. It's becoming something you can hand off from your home, sitting on your couch, on your phone, between meetings, on a commute, or while standing in the kitchen pretending the meeting is still not happening. A bold era for people saying, I'll circle back, and then assigning a robot to actually do the circling. What a time. Microsoft also talks about Cowork skills. A skill is a reusable set of instructions for how a workflow should be done, structure, tone, process. The point is consistency. They capture the way the work should happen. They then ask Cowork to apply it again, and Cowork plugins connect that work across documents, data, and line of business systems. Fabric IQ and Power BI Dynamic 365, upcoming connectors like LSEG, Miro, Monday.com, and SNG Global Energy. Here's the operator translation. The interface is getting easier. The work is getting more connected. The agent is getting closer to the actual artifact. That means the review cannot live only at the prompt. It has to live at the handoff, not just ask what the agent can do, ask what the organization will accept as done. This is where Agent 365 matters. Microsoft says Agent 365 is generally available. At this point, I'm just glad it's not just another thing called Copilot. Knock on wood and hope they don't change it. The important idea is not the brand name. The important idea is the control plane shape. Observe, govern, secure. That is the language. And it's telling you where the enterprise problem is going, not just what agents exist, but where do they run? Which identities are attached? Which data can they reach? Which tools can they call? What are they doing? And what happens when they do something weird at machine speed? Some of the Agent 365 capabilities are generally available. Some are public preview, some are coming in June. The distinction matters. The control plane announcement is not the same as a fully implemented local operating procedure. A dashboard is not a governance program. It's a dashboard. The ones with beautiful rectangles, still rectangles. But the direction is important. Microsoft is explicitly talking about local agents, SaaS agents, cloud agents, network controls, registry sync, runtime alerts, and policy-based guardrails. That's not because agents are cute. No matter what you dress it up in, it's because agents create exposure, and exposure needs ownership. If an agent can act, it needs an owner. It can access data. It needs a boundary. If it can produce work, guess what? It needs a review. Okay, so second signal. Anthropic moved the same story into financial work. On May 5th, Anthropic announced agents for financial services. 10 ready-to-run templates. Pitch builder, meeting preparer, earning reviewer, model builder, market researcher, valuation reviewer, general ledger reconciler, month-end closer, statement auditor, KYC screener. That list is not a toy list. That is not make me a birthday limerick about procurement. Though, honestly, procurement probably deserves one. This is high consequence work. Client materials, models, controls, compliance files, audit readiness, books of record. Anthropic says each template packages 3 things: skills, connectors, and subagents. The skills define the task and domain knowledge. The connectors provide governed access to data. The subagents handle specific subtasks, like comparables, selection, or methodology checks. That is useful, don't get me wrong. It's also a governance layer, because the more complete the package gets, the more finished the output can look. And the more finished the output looks, the easier it is for a tired human at, let's say, 8 p.m. on a Friday to assume that the process was sound. And that, my friend, is the danger zone. Not because the agent is useless, because it's useful enough to be trusted way too quickly. To Anthropic's credit, their announcements keeps human in the loop. They say users review, iterate on, and approve Claude's work before it goes to a client, or gets filed, or is acted on. The line matters because for operators, human in the loop cannot be a decorative phrase. It has to mean a named role, a review artifact, a retained evidence path, and a strong stop condition. If nobody knows what the reviewer is reviewing, you do not have human oversight. You have a vibes-based turnstile. And that turnstile is wearing a fleece vest that says innovation. So what do you do with this? You stop treating delegation as a productivity feature. We treat it as a quality system. Every delegated AI workflow needs 4 controls. First, the assignment boundary. What is the agent actually allowed to do? What's explicitly not allowed to do? Can it draft? Can it edit? Can it send? Can it file? Can it change a record? If the answer is unclear, the agent is not delegated. It's wondering. Okay, the second boundary, what data did it use? Was the data approved for the task? Was it current? Was it complete? Was it allowed to cross into the workflow? An agent that uses the wrong source politely is still using the wrong source. Polite wrong is still wrong. Third, the review boundary. Okay, who reviewed that work? What are they actually checking? How about accuracy, compliance, tone? Is the math right? Source lineage, client sensitivity? The generic approval checkbox is not enough. That's just a tiny ceremonial button. Fourth, the release boundary. When can the artifact leave the conversation? When can it enter a deck, a memo, a ticket, a client email, a record system, or a decision process? That is the moment that matters, because inside that chat, bad output is annoying. Outside the chat, bad output becomes operational risk. The next big action is simple. Pick one AI-assisted workflow, just one. Not the whole enterprise, not a 300-line policy matrix that makes everyone suddenly interested in lunch. One workflow by Wednesday, May 13th, 2026. Run a 30-minute delegation quality review. Answer these 9 questions. What task is being delegated? Who's allowed to delegate it? Which source systems can the agents use? What artifact does the agent produce? Who reviews it? What evidence gets retained? What's a fallback if the agent fails? What condition stops the workflow? And what plain language message do users need before they try it? That's it. One workflow, 9 answers, 30 minutes. If you can't answer those questions for one agent workflow, you're not ready to scale it. You're ready to create a very confident mess. The headline this week is not that agents are getting better. They are. The headline is the delegation is becoming normal. From Microsoft Cowork to Agent 365 to Anthropic's finance templates, the same pattern is showing up. Work is moving from human hands to agent hands, then back into human approval. That middle space is the danger zone. This is where assumptions hide. This is where source drift. This is where a draft becomes a deliverable before anyone admits it happened. So keep the frame clean. Access tells you who can enter. Trust boundaries tell you where the agents can operate. Delegation quality tells you whether the work can leave the room. And useful is not ready. Ready means reviewed. Ready means evidenced. Ready means owned. That is the delegation quality check. Now I'm going to step away slowly and tell you that this is where I would put the attention this week. All right.
This is AI Change Desk. See you next time.